In the immortal words of Toy Story, howdy, howdy, howdy. Hey, welcome everybody to A.M.O.K, the mostly paranormal show, and it is a Missouri week, and it's and when we think of Missouri, we think of Ken.
Yes, we do.
So,
Oh my gosh.
so this is Ken's week. So we all shall pay attention to Mr. Ken.
Put on our listening ears.
It's the billions of fans out there. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I know we'll be breaking the billion pretty soon, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, yeah, we're getting there.
Easy.
We only got about 999 million to go.
Yeah, something like that.
Well,
We're getting close. Anyway,
small goal.
hey, it's small goal, yep. Hey, Adrian just said it's my week, our Mo week. And welcome, everybody. A.M.O.K.
A.M.O.K.
Yeah,
we'll let you get away with that today, because
Does the body good? A.M.O.K? No.
yeah, A.M.O.K. Yeah, it's probably because of the milk issue I had earlier, where it sprung a leak in the bag. I'm like, oh, this is not good. Anyway, A.M.O.K. welcomes Ginger B to our show tonight.
Hello.
Ginger leads, and I do know that for sure now, the genealogy department of the Jefferson County Library Northwest, which is located in High Ridge, Missouri. She has many interests, but the one she cherishes the most is researching people, places, and things. So let's find out. What was that?
My cat, sorry.
Okay,
I thought you yelled something on my...
It wasn't me.
It was my cat. I'm sorry.
It wasn't my milk thing either.
She's normally quiet. I apologize. She's chatting tonight.
That's okay. Well, let's find out how we can all do it better as far as researching. So welcome, Ginger, to the show.
Yeah, welcome, Ginger.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
Okay, I'm learning my English too. So we were talking a little while ago, and I remembered semi-correctly, but I met you many years ago at a paranormal conference. Try again here. You were one of the speakers. And I know, of course, I'm going to ask all sorts of weird questions. So I approached you after you were finished and kind of during the break and all that. And I think I had asked something about this topic. I said I had recently been called a witch. And I asked you if you thought it was true. Your reply was, I don't know if you remember this or not, but Ken, if you want to be a witch, if you're okay with being a witch, then you're probably a witch. And even after that weird question that I asked you, and you kind of walked away and answered somebody else's question, we're still friends. That was a long time. So do you remember that?
I don't. But I do remember the place because I had been a speaker at over Robin Terry.
Yep, it was out in Robin Terry.
He had me over there a couple of times to speak. And so I'm sure it was after one of those, maybe the first one even, that we met. Yeah.
Probably so, because I did not go to the first one, but I did go to the final 9 that he had. And that has been over now. So, and I think I asked you that. We were standing outside. This is February, first weekend of February. We're outside. It's kind of chilly, and we're all just kind of standing out there hanging out. And a bunch of people were asking you questions, and then I asked you that silly one. Which, hey, it worked out good. Which was no pun intended there. So with that, I know that you used to be more involved with paranormal investigating and other things, working with cemeteries. And I thought that was the coolest thing when you told me that you and several of your friends would go out, find old cemeteries and try to clean them up. And
we would clean them up,
Well,
nice.
And you did that for a long, long time. I don't know if you still do that.
Not actively, but I'm building library programming around it now so that I can, because I don't necessarily have the free time available to do it myself. I'm going to build an army of cemetery preservationists and send them
Okay,
into the world.
I'm not familiar with the term. Free
Interesting.
time. Free time.
Right.
Right? Free time. I have no idea.
I'm not. That's like a weird word. So you spoke. What'd you speak on?
Let's see. I think one of them I talked about the words ghosts versus spirits and the difference between those two terms. And then the other one I did on basically the things I'm touching on tonight is how to properly research a location that you think might be actively haunted, how to research the people who have been connected to that location. From a historical standpoint, how to approach paranormal investigation.
I tell you, I'm terrible at that part of it.
Well,
You're not alone.
That's why she's here tonight. She's going to teach you, Adrian. I've been learning. She's been my mentor on this for many, many years now. But a couple of lifetimes, I think now too. But we're going to learn about that tonight. And my question, though, regarding that is, did your love for research prompt you to become an investigator, or did the investigations prompt you to become a researcher? Is there a correlation there?
Definitely. Yeah. The two are definitely intertwined. I think that, boy, it's hard to say what came first, honestly. I have always been obsessed with the dead. I've always had a connection with the dead. As a child, there was a historic cemetery behind my elementary school. And that's where I spent a lot of my childhood, in the cemetery, reading the names, learning about the people. If I wasn't there, I was at my local library in the reference department, researching people, reading about the town's history, learning who came before me. My love of history, my love of cemeteries was encouraged by my family at a young age. So that definitely helped. But once I got into actively seeking out haunted locations, or consulting with people in need or paranormal groups, I found that the need to really learn the root cause was apparent. It was very obvious that research was going to play a big role in what I wanted to discover in terms of why some place was actively haunted.
Very cool.
Interesting.
I think you already answered all my questions. No.
Oh, well, okay, well done.
Good show.
Did you grow up in St. Louis then also, in this area?
I didn't. I am a transplant to this area, which is amazing to think about now after researching. It's funny because I didn't start researching my own family history until years after I started researching other people's family history. I don't know why that is, but once I started researching my own family history, I found roots to some of my direct ancestors who were in the county that I live in before it was even established as a county. So they were some of the first settlers to the area when it was Louisiana Territory. And so energetically, I guess, I feel very connected to the area, but I actually grew up about an hour and a half south of the St. Louis area.
Oh, okay. So in the Boot Heel area or
Phelps County area, like down 44.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
The whatever, Steelville, whatever.
Yeah, around there.
Around that area. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hotbed down there too, though. I mean, you're right there near, what is it, Arcadia Valley, which is what, 6721, and not too.
Now that would be straight south. Yeah, that would be straight south. Yeah. But it is on the outskirts of the Ozark region, which the Ozarks is just full of superstition and folklore and history and just really colorful stories. And so that's what I grew up around. I have superstitions that I still hang on to, even in adulthood. So.
Oh, and hundreds of canoe streams too.
Yeah,
The
right.
Ozark Scenic Riverways or something like that. Oh yeah, it's a great,
it's a beautiful area.
Beautiful area.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about your your younger years? I guess not that you're old, but your younger years. Your life, family. You got pets, job, etc. Just anything?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my younger days, I spent a lot of time in cemeteries, and I was just telling someone a story recently about one of my aunts gathering all of me and all of my cousins around and saying, "Do you want to go see a glowing headstone?" And we're all like, "Yay!"
Nice.
Yay!
And we all pile in the car and we drove out in the middle of the night, just drove out in the middle of nowhere. And I remember standing on this gravel road, and there was this wide open field, and there was this one upright granite stone in the middle of the field. And of course, now as an adult viewing the situation, it makes sense. But at the time, it was a full moon night. Here's this big old headstone in the middle of a field, and it's glowing. And, us kids just thought that was the coolest thing. We loved that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Now I think, okay, well, it was a granite headstone and it was a full moon. So obviously there was a lot of light shining off the stone. But at the time, it was just the coolest experience. And it really helped develop my interest at a young age.
That's like a lot of these stories, these witches' grave type stories, and they're like, oh, it glows, and yeah, if you have any kind of scientific thought, you're like, oh, well, it's this, and this causes this, and that causes that. So yeah, but as a kid or somebody likes to get freaked out, those stories are always fun.
Right. Yeah.
And now I've actually been into a cave. I've been in a cave where there really are some rocks that do glow in the dark.
There are stones that are what do they call it? They're fluorescent.
Limestone?
They
No.
glow under UV lights.
Yeah.
Well, that's a guy that comes to the Arkansas Paranormal Expo every year. He does, I guess he calls them the looper lights or whatever. And he had all these rocks that glow, and they're pretty kind of cool. Tina,
yeah,
we got one up here somewhere in our menagerie.
It's hanging down like a meteorite.
Somewhere, yeah.
Of course, before I got into the library thing, I was into the stones and crystals and did a lot of classes and teaching, and I worked out of a couple of different metaphysical shops, and so I taught a lot of people about crystals and stones and which ones actually do glow under certain light conditions and energetic properties and things like that. So they're really interesting. Yeah, nature is really cool.
My daughter would have a heyday with you. She had this like rock shrine in her apartment. I mean, and she's one of these people. Yeah, you give her a rock, she's like, woo! She's really happy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and she'll usually tell you what kind of rock it is. So yeah.
Yeah, growing up, it was rocks and fossils. I didn't know anything about crystals. I knew there were, ooh, that's a shiny rock. That's really cool. I can see through this one.
It's pretty.
Yep.
And now I know most in our area, especially, a lot of it's quartz.
Quartz, yeah.
Quartz related. So it's kind of cool. So, Ginger, how did you discover your talents for the different things that you've been involved in? Was it inherited, or did you just stumble upon it?
Which talents would that be?
Oh, I don't know. You can pick it.
Yeah.
I figured the library is going to because of everything else. It's
Yes. So I have just always been fascinated with digging into a story. Like, we all love a good story. But knowing just names and dates, or just seeing names and dates on a page, it doesn't really tell you much. It's boring, frankly.
Yeah, you want to know the why.
Yes. And so I started searching for different avenues of information. And for me, starting out, I wanted to find all of the free avenues of information because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on trying to find things out. And so I learned pretty quickly the different places I could go to locate that information. Thankfully for me, when I moved to this county and I started using the Jefferson County Library, almost 20 years ago now.
wow.
And I met the woman who eventually became my boss. And she and I connected on our love of researching the dark, morbid side of history, I guess.
Yeah.
Murders and mayhem and, just the
The
dark,
good stuff.
They're kind of more into the crime side, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the juicy stories. So,
I'm not big on murder, but I like mayhem.
Yeah,
It's all good.
there's something for everyone.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Batman's from there too, isn't he?
The what?
I said I think Batman's from Mayhem, right? But go
Oh,
ahead.
right.
Yes.
Just go ahead. I was just being goofy.
I'm gonna mute you.
So when I met her and I realized, there are people out there who share my love of researching this type of history, and she really encouraged me to learn more, and she taught me a lot, and then she eventually offered me a job. So that was when I kind of closed the door on my own business and doing the paranormal things and everything that went along with that, and focused solely on what I can provide as a library worker.
So do you help teams out? Or do they come to you, or would they come to you and say, "Hey, I need some kind of background on this house," or anything like that?
Yes, Ken is definitely one.
I've done that.
We do have we do have a paranormal club that meets at the library, and I've helped them out some.
Nice.
I used to do a lot of consulting with paranormal groups on locations, but I think once I kind of stepped out of that venue, I think that people just kind of weren't sure how to contact me. So I definitely want to make it a point tonight to say I am available for that type of research. My library is available for that type of research. We welcome everyone, and you don't even have to be a resident of my county to receive our services. I help people all over the world.
Oh yeah, and I'd like to tell you, billions out there, your local library is a huge treasure for a paranormal investigator, because we have a great genealogy department in our library, and I've walked up to them and asked them strange questions, and they'll scratch their head, and then they're like giving a nerd something a puzzle to put together, and they're like, "It's over here," and then I look at that, and next thing you know, books are open and pages are flying, and it's great because they know how to look. Me, I'm like, I don't know. I know.
Right.
I know. What'd you say? Name and a date. That's it.
Yeah, right. But researchers can take those breadcrumbs and run with it and find the information you're looking for. So, public libraries are becoming community centers, and when you're lucky enough to have a library that has a dedicated genealogy and history department, that is a huge score. We're the only library location in our system that has a dedicated genealogy and local history department. So we get a lot of traffic from all over.
That's
And
awesome.
it's exciting. I'm excited to every person who walks through the door, I'm excited to help them.
Well, you like to find the lost story, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a puzzle.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really and seeing the look on people's faces when I'm able to present them with a story that either they had no concept of, or it had gotten so twisted through the passing down of it that it was not recognizable as the truth. When I'm able to present them with the truth, then they're like, this is amazing. I mean, I have people cry. I have people just go nuts about it. So it's fun. I love being able to do that for people.
You're solving a mystery. It's kind of a adventure.
I'm a detective.
Yes, you are.
Have you done your own? Did you do your own like genealogy? Did you do your own family?
Yes. I started working on my own family history in 2009, I guess it was. And I've gotten back pretty far. I mean, I did find out that Lady Mercia is, or Lady Godiva of Mercia is my 25th great grandmother. If you're not familiar with Lady Godiva, she's the one who disobeyed her. Yes, she rode on the horse through town, made everyone cover their windows, and she did it to rebel against her husband who was raising taxes. And so that was her moment of rebellion.
I'm anti-taxes too. So.
Yeah, so your window shades were up, right? Oh, that's pretty cool though. I knew you had found something not long ago because you posted it on, I don't know if it was your site or someplace. You're like, you're not going to believe this. I found some really cool information about my family. You know, not me, but you.
Oh,
yeah.
It's really incredible the things that I've been able to discover. I think I'm up to 5 grandmothers who were tried and convicted for witchcraft. They're like great, you know, through time, of course, but they just keep coming out of the woodwork. And all of these strong women who were maybe not following the rules of society and were, you know, put to death for it. It just enforces my role as a woman now in present day of, you know, being a strong woman and telling the stories of the women who came before me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and don't put too many people to death anymore. So, which is good.
No.
Very good.
That's very
good. Yes, I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
So besides the tools that you have at your library, do you work with like historical societies, other locations or areas around the world? You said you do stuff around the world, or you have.
Yes. Yeah. I have a researcher that I've worked with quite a bit who lives in Germany.
Okay.
And we have a lot of property owners. It just seems like people recently, I mean, we'll have like a whole run, like a whole week of just nothing but people wanting to research their property. So I don't know if there's a lot of property changing hands lately, which is probably the case. But people are really curious to know how it originated, who owned it before, what was the land before they built on it, that kind of thing. And we're able to provide them with a lineage of the house or the property of what happened there before it became their home.
Yeah. Back in the day, a lot of homes had the abstract, had a lot of that information in there, but I know that that's become a thing of the past too. we got lucky. We had a nice abstract for our house, so it helped us do research on this because this house is haunted, and we were trying to figure out why and who it was and all that stuff. And I'm not woo-woo at all, so I couldn't figure it out any of that stuff. But yeah, that abstract talked about all the original land purchases and how it was sectioned out and who owned it, and the guy who actually bought the property and started this whole subdivision apparently he killed his wife and he killed himself, not on the ground here though. So we nicknamed the ghost in this house James because we know it's a man, but because that was the guy who did it. But I don't think that's who it is. But
No.
For no lack of better anything else, hi James.
Keep him happy, right?
He's like, he might be going, my name is Chad. I don't know.
Call me Jim.
Steve, man, it's Steve.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So have any pets?
I do. I have a little Franklin. He's my emotional support dog. He's my emotional support floof. And he's never very far away. He's a long-haired dachshund. And his name is Franklin D. Roosevelt, because of course I'm a history nerd. So of course I named him, something historical, but he's laying in the floor right now by my feet. So
Great.
So sweet.
He's a good boy.
I had forgotten that you had a dachshund. I know me growing up, I had a miniature one, short-haired.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Love. That was my buddy. That was my buddy. But let's see. So research. A lot of people hear that word. They're going, I know.
Yeah.
It can be intimidating.
It can be intimidating, and it can be frustrating. Because you can't find the answers, or you find something, and then you read another Google report, or article, whatever, that's like 27 years old or whatever, and it says the opposite. It's like, well, what's real? What's facts? How can you discern what's really what? And from that perspective.
Yes. So I tell people, go straight to the source. However far back you have to trace it to the original source, that's where you have to go back to, because information can get shared and twisted, and pieces of it fall away and more pieces are added on, and that's how we have folklore and legends and stories that are very roughly based in the truth. So I tell people to document their sources, first of all. Make sure that the information is coming from a credible source. And there are a lot of credible sources that you can use for free.
Wikipedia.
Well, it's on the internet. It's got to be true.
Nothing against Wikipedia, but we definitely don't use Wikipedia when we're doing our research.
It's so funny. I see there'll be a lot of teams that put things on there, and then they'll cite Wikipedia as their source. I'm like, oh, okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So do you ever help people find, like, say, their loved ones who, because I know the territories, it's kind of hard to find people who have passed away. Perhaps they were buried someplace else. Do you work in any kind of finding lost people kind of stuff with the genealogy that you do, or if old cemeteries, that kind of thing?
Yes. We actually, one of my researchers worked on a case earlier in the year to help a woman and her mother locate the grave of her mother's baby brother.
Wow.
And that her mother was very advanced in age, and the daughter really wanted to bring her that closure before she passed. And we were able to provide her with the exact location of his grave. It was a very complicated case because there was no marker. We were only partly sure of where even the cemetery that he was located in. We ran into roadblocks with just trying to access information, burial records, the funeral homes, the cemetery. No one really wanted to be too cooperative about that, which you'll run into sometimes. There are funeral homes and cemeteries who just, if they, especially if they know you're not family,
Yeah.
they sometimes can be very reluctant to share information, which is unfortunate, but it happens quite often. But we were able to finally piece together exactly where this baby was buried, and come to find out, when one of my researchers went to the cemetery to actually walk the cemetery to see what she could find, and she called the office and said, I know you said that it's in this lot or this burial location, but I'm not seeing any sign of where this child is buried. And the woman said, well, if you see a headstone with this name on it, which was a completely different name, then that's where he's buried. And come to find out, he had been buried, and then many, many, many years later, the grave was reopened, and he was disinterred, and a distant relative was put in the grave, and the baby was placed back into the grave, and then the headstone is for the person that they more recently buried.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's no sign on the headstone at all. Without those burial records that are held by the cemetery, we would have never been able to find that information. And so my researcher was able to present that to the daughter, to where she could bring her mother to the gravesite and let her have some closure there.
Huh.
Well,
Nice.
I bet that you've just felt awesome, didn't you? Just so humbled and
It's such an incredible feeling to be able to provide that, something that they spent years wondering about. And she may have passed away never knowing if they had not come to us for help.
was
I
that
love
one,
that.
was that one of your longest cases? I'll call them. Take a
No.
while. Did it take a
It
while?
did take quite a while. It did take quite a while. But it took months. I have cases that I've worked on for years. So
Excuse me.
it just depends on where you're looking for the information. Some counties, some states are better about recording information and having access to information than others are. Missouri, thankfully, they are amazing about providing free records and free information. The Missouri State Archives, wherever you are researching in the state, that is an incredible free resource. Their website is awesome, but going there also in person in Jefferson City is just incredible. It's such a great research location.
So is there like a year where things fall off and hard to research beyond that?
Oh, sure. Yes. So the U.S. federal census, which is one of my go-to records that I use anytime I'm researching people. The federal census, as you know, we still have it going on today. It is done, it's conducted every 10 years. It goes back to 1790. 1790 was when we had our first federal census recording.
I didn't know that.
Unfortunately, the first one to be done in Missouri was 1830.
Yeah.
Between 1830 and 1850, the information that's provided on this census is very limited. It's just the name of the head of household, which was usually the husband, and then it has brackets of ages. Here are the males, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20,
Oh,
and then little tally marks for each person in the household. So you really have to kind of have an idea of who's in the household when using those census records, because people had common names, and you may be chasing a rabbit that ends up being a completely different family than what you're actually searching for. So that can definitely complicate things. There were a lot of courthouses that were burned during the Civil War, or just throughout history. I mean, a lot of courthouses were first built of frame structures, and they would just go up quick and take all of the records with them. So, unfortunately, depending on where you're researching, that can leave a big hole in your research if the records were lost. We do not have an 1890 federal census because it was lost in a fire. There are very, very few that have been pieced together. Missouri is not included in that, unfortunately. So 1890 is a bust. So that leaves a 20-year gap in between the 1880 census and the 1900 census. A lot can happen in 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of children born, a lot of children died. Like, a lot of things happened. And so you have to fill that space with other documentation, death records, birth records, if you have city directories or land maps, things like that can kind of help you fill in the blanks. Newspapers. I cannot say enough about newspapers. Oh my gosh. Newspapers. I am obsessed with newspapers. So
Microfiche.
I use microfiche. We do still have microfilmed newspapers. They are more and more being digitized, but
especially the German ones in this area.
Yeah.
I went to the Historical Society in Herman looking for some details, and a lot of them are on microfiche from the early 1800s.
I really got my first experience with microfiche. We did an investigation here of the Burns murder, famous murder that happened here. Man, apparently crazy, cut off his mama's head, and then rode around town with their head in a bag, and then dropped it off.
I know that story. Yeah.
Wow.
Dumped it off in the holy water thing at the Catholic church downtown. But
what? Oh my goodness.
So I heard a lot of, like you say, a lot of the story, and I'm like, I want to know what was actually reported. So first time, and I was at that genealogy place at the library, and they pointed me to microfiche. So here I am going through all these, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But research is not my gig. I'll fall asleep. But that was interesting.
If your subject matter is interesting and you're really eager to learn the story, it can be fun. But I get that research is not for everyone, which is why I have a job.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that, for sure.
Right. Yes.
That's funny.
Well, you mentioned a couple of items. You said the Missouri archives, for example, for Missouri, federal U.S. Census, those free to use, or are there other things
they are.
to use?
Yeah, I have so many free resources because I don't want people paying for research. It's just not necessary. So definitely the state archives, everything they offer is free to everyone. And they also have researchers that you can contact. If you don't want to do the researching, you can contact someone there at the archives to do the digging for you.
Wow.
Newspapers.com, which is my favorite way to access digital newspaper archives. It is a paid subscription site, but most libraries have a subscription to it. So you can go to any library. You do not have to be a card-holding patron for that library. You can go into any library and access their public computers and get on newspapers.com. For my library patrons that have a library card, they can access it for free through our website from home even. So back before
nice.
I was a library worker, I had a Facebook page for my business called Missouri History and Hauntings. Now it's called Advocate of the Dead. Since 2011, I think. I shared all the weird, unusual stories that I would find in the old newspapers. I shared them on that Facebook page. So they're still archived. The page is still live, but it is not necessarily active anymore because I don't share anything on there anymore. And then I did a thing called Morbid Monday every week. And that's when I
Nice.
do remember
the
that.
really disturbing stories that I would find these stories in the newspaper archives, and they would be dark. I would have to set aside a special day just for those stories because they were very gruesome. But newspapers.com, if you don't have access at your library to newspapers.com, the Library of Congress has a part of their website called Chronicling America, and that is their free digital newspaper archives that you can access. It's not through a library or anything. You can just go on Chronicling America, and the newspapers are there. And it's nationwide, not just specifically for Missouri.
Okay.
Very nice.
Another site that I tell people to visit is called Cindy's List.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. Mhm.
CYNDISLIST. This is the largest collection of genealogy websites on the internet. She has compiled and collected websites, anything to do with genealogy, history research. Her website can be very daunting, as you can imagine. It's massive.
It's
Huge.
huge. Yeah.
But you can break it down by categories, and that does help if you're narrowing it down to a specific location. But I have that bookmarked. I use it at least a few times a week, and it's all free. Now she will have specified with the link. She'll have like a little $sign or something if it's a paid site, so that you know before you click it that you can't access anything there if you don't have an account. So you'll see a lot of the free ones. It is
Ooh, thunder.
going in a storm right now.
Yeah, I was going to say it's heading our way too. So
Hopefully my internet holds out. But that's Cindy's List is a good one. Find a Grave is a great website for cemetery research. It's owned by Ancestry now, but it was privately owned for many years. And it's all volunteer driven. All of the information on there was added by cemetery volunteers, people just walking through cemeteries and taking pictures and transcribing information. So it's completely free to use. You don't even have to have an account. Really fun website. You can look at like all the famous graves, or like you can pull up a map and see what cemeteries are around you by GPS location. So that's really fun if you just want to, you're out somewhere that you're not familiar with and you just want to go visit a cemetery, you can see if it pops up on the map.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's a really cool site. I've been an active member on there for a long time and I really enjoy it. And then Family Search might be a little more advanced than some people want to dive into, but Family Search is a free genealogy kind of tree building website, completely free, that you can sign up an account, you can start building your own tree. It's a collective, so you don't just build your own individual tree, you tie yourself into this, it's like a co-op kind of thing. So everyone is working on, the same things or whatever. So it's really fun. They have a lot of records on there for free that you would normally have to pay on ancestry.com for. You can get for free on Family Search. So
Did they
My
just?
my genealogy department is a Family Search library affiliate, so I have to plug them.
Hey,
Awesome.
plug away, plug away.
Did they change the name to Family Tree?
No.
Okay, so
They sometimes do call it Family Tree, and they did change the name of the Family Search Centers. So they used to be called Family History Centers or something like that, maybe. But they're called Family Search. No, Family History Centers. Yeah. And then I think they still just call the libraries affiliate libraries. But I know that I have seen it called Family Tree, but the website itself is called Family Search.
yeah, I just looked it up because I use it a lot.
Yeah.
And but the icon shows Family Tree, but when I clicked on it a minute ago, it is Family Search on the inside.
Oh, okay.
And I've been able to get back on my dad's side, I think back 6 generations, 5 or 6.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
can't get anything on my mom's side. So I don't think they existed, except my mom.
Well, I do have a set of fourth great grandparents who I think the aliens dropped them in the middle of Indiana in 1850.
Okay. Are they related to me? I've got relatives in Indiana too, but go ahead.
Maybe.
Well-
That's one of my, what we call a brick wall ancestor. The brick wall ancestors are the ones you just can't seem to break through. I've been working on them for, probably 10 years. And I just cannot get past their marriage in 1850. I just can't. I have no idea where they came from.
That's okay. Try being blessed with the last name Campbell and Smith. It's a hot mess.
I've worked on families with those names, so yeah, that's
It's
a
a
tough
mess.
one. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Interesting. Okay. So I do use that one, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Oh no, it's fine. I just wanted to give some examples of what you can also get for free through the library. A lot of libraries have free access to Ancestry.com. It's a library edition of Ancestry, and you can only use it in the library. It's kind of an agreement with Ancestry and public libraries is that they only allow access if you're in the library. Fold 3, which is primarily military records that come from the National Archives. So if you're researching any conflict that the U.S. has been involved in, or just a person who was an enlisted serviceman or woman, then you can find the records on Fold 3. And most libraries have access to that. If you have a library card, you can usually access it for free at home through your library's website. Heritage Quest is another one that I really like. Primarily, I like to access it for census records, which we do have the federal census that goes up to 1950 at this point. So they come out every 72 years. Well, they have to be 72 years old. I mean, they come out once the records are 72 years old. So the 1960 will be next, and it won't be for quite a while because we just got the 1950. I guess it's been about 4 years ago. So we've got quite a wait before we get to the 1960, but those are on Heritage Quest. You can pretty much find the federal census anywhere for free. Even if you just Google U.S. federal census, you'll be able to find links to it. Heritage Quest also has digitized books. So one of the fun things I like to do at work is when we have new people start, I like to research their family history, and I keep a file of staff genealogies, so I could just see who's who. And I was able to discover in one of my coworkers' trees through the digital books on Heritage Quest that one of her ancestors was involved in, I think it was the French and Indian War. And he was taken prisoner and put on a ship in the harbor. and which is bad enough. You think, oh my gosh, this poor guy, and nothing good is going to come of this. He was able to escape.
Huh.
And he was swimming back to shore when he was killed by a shark.
Oh,
Oh no.
As soon as you
Right?
said swimming, I got a picture of a shark, and I'm like, and then you said it. I'm like, oh my God, that poor guy.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Holy
I just,
cow.
It's from
Oh,
bad to worse. Yeah, I don't
right.
ever want to be chewed on. That'd be terrible.
No,
No
yeah, I
fun.
don't
No.
either.
that'd be like
Okay.
Dawn of the Dead or whatever it was called.
Right.
I have a my number one rule in life is to never be food. So I don't want to.
That is
It's
a
a
good
eat
rule
but
to
not be
have.
eaten kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Right.
never be food, which keeps me away from a
Yeah.
lot of things.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Ginger, you've mentioned a lot of things for finding people. What about sites or venues?
Yeah, places.
Yes.
Places.
So, one of the first places I recommend people going when they're trying to find information about a physical location is the newspapers. You're going to find land transfer information. You're going to find information about businesses. You're going to find what I call the gossip columns. A lot of small town newspapers had community columns where it was like, oh, so and so had company on Sunday, or so and so drove into St. Louis for the day, or just like the goings on in the community.
Who's
So and
The
so built a
society
barn.
columns.
Yes, and it was just the goings on of everyone in the community. And so if
Before the
someone
newspaper turned to the dark side.
Dear Abby before Dear Abby was cool.
right. So if someone built a new house, or they bought a house, or they sold a house, or they built a new barn, or whatever, that was usually talk of the community, and it would have been included in the paper. But there are also land records. So being part of the Louisiana Territory, we have records that go back to the Spanish and French control of the land. And there were people receiving Spanish land grants during that time. And we have maps and records that go back that far. So if you're curious, well, what was this land used for in its history? When you say your house is haunted, but maybe nothing specifically happened in your house that would have caused a haunting, maybe it's not the house, maybe it's the land.
Mhm.
And that's where you dig into what was here before. What is the history of the dirt that my house is sitting on?
We run into that a lot around here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Where are you located?
At Portsmouth, Arkansas. And
Yeah.
And so we'll as a team, if people, my house is haunted. How could it be haunted? It was built in 2010. Because it's not the building itself; it's the stuff that was there before you.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And then they go into poltergeist. Oh my God! No.
It's the nails and the trees that were incorporated into it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's about the land, which is why I think there's never been any documented death in this house, but this house is haunted. So
Mhm.
could have been
Yeah.
land.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of state level organizations, the archives, will have those original land records. A lot of them have them digitized. I have them I have copies of the maps in my collection in the library. And our records in the county where I serve my patrons, we have land records that go from the Spanish land grants to 1876, 1898, and then up to 1930 and 1974, and on and on and on. So the earliest land maps that we have go back to the Spanish territory. But then we can also trace. We show people how to look up the legal description of the property too, because you have to know the township, the range, and the section when you're looking at these plat maps. They're going to be in that format. And so that's something important to know. GIS maps, which I don't know, the counties that I've done research in, I have been able to find a GIS map, but I don't know how prevalent they are in other states. Here, I can go to my county assessor's office and I can pull the GIS map for the county, and I can put in a physical address, and then it'll show me a satellite image of that property with the property lines. And then when I click on that, it'll give me the legal description of the property.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's just one of those things that just a lot of times it shuts me down. We were lucky enough to have somebody actually was willing to dig and spend the hours digging through. She loved it. Of course, she didn't have the ability to go actually investigate and do a ghost hunt with us so much. So we said we put her on that, and she just ran with it. She loved it. So but we don't have her anymore. So now it's up to us to do it. We're like, oh, we'll retire. But
well, now you have me. I would be happy to do some research for you.
That's
so the great segue before Adrian pushes the button here.
You got 3 minutes.
How can people contact you?
So you can reach me at the Jefferson County Library Northwest Branch in High Ridge, Missouri. My phone number is 636-677-8186. And when you call, just ask for the genealogy department. It's myself, and I have 2 other researchers that work in that room. Or you can email me at gbrickey@jeffcolib.org. And I would be happy to, like I said, I help researchers everywhere. You don't have to be a county resident or a patron to receive assistance.
Excellent.
Any fees or anything, or you guys take donations?
No,
or what?
Totally free. We welcome donations to our the Friends of the Library is who receives our donations, and then we receive money from them. As the library is a nonprofit, we're not able to just receive money. But they're actually helping me buy my new furniture for my department. So donations definitely come in handy. So, but for the most part, the research, there is no cost associated with that. We do ask for a fee if you want physical copies of things. But for the most part, we are capable of digitizing any records that you want access to and emailing them.
That's awesome.
What's the length of a typical case? Like if one of us called you and say, "Hey, do you have any information on blah blah blah?" Is it?
I would say, give us a week. Usually, we'll spend a couple of days just trying to feel out what we can find. And then we'll reach out to you and say, okay, here's kind of where we're at with it. We may need a little more time to kind of figure out what else is available. Mm-hmm. So I would say starting out as a week and then going from there, depending on how deep of a dive we're doing and what's available.
Okay. So you not only help individuals and teams, do you help out authors?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I did some consulting for an author not too long ago, writing a historical novel, who just wanted some details about some historic Civil War era kind of thing that I was able to provide.
That's cool.
Very cool.
All right, we need to wrap this up. I just
Ginger.
I want to say I want to say to everybody who's listening to this and any future people who may be listening to the show, go to the library, get a card, support your library. It is not only is it a place where you can go basically anywhere in the world and any time in the world, but you also it's a fantastic resource for doing our hobby. So do it. Get a
Absolutely.
card, support your local libraries before they go away. All right. Next week we have Christy,
Me,
and she's going to be bringing on who?
Brooke Montoya. She is
Oh, yeah.
a author and a paranormal investigator. It's gonna
Yeah,
be fun.
it's going to be fun. So
Absolutely.
we always try to have a lot of fun, and this show is great, informative,
I
and
love it.
I love
Ginger,
it. And hang
Ginger,
around.
thanks for coming on at last minute. I mean, I
Yeah.
really do appreciate it. You
Yeah.
were awesome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I appreciate you asking, and I'm usually available in the evening, so I'm happy to do it.
All right.
Yeah,
Hang
well,
around. Wait
Probably
for
get
us
you
to
on
credit.
another time soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.